There we go. Right, so welcome to this free Zoom on Sunday afternoon, which is very, very nice, a bit later than normal where I do them. And it's going to be 2 hours max. It is a really good one, this one. Nothing too complicated at all, so hopefully we'll all be able to pretty much stay together. But if you just want to watch and so long later, that's absolutely fine. Don't feel pressured. If you get so far through and get yourself, stuck or what have you, don't worry. If you need to leave or you need a break, then, totally laid back here. So on the description on the website, I put on everything that you need to make this one. And you can actually make it any size. So obviously I'm going to make one size today, but you can make it taller or wide or longer. You'll see once we start putting it together. So I've got my 36. I think I've got 36. I might have 35. We'll soon find out. You need 36 2.5-inch squares. So I'm using some that I had left off a mini charm pack. And then I didn't have enough. So what I did was I went through my stash and looked for some coordinating fabrics. And I just cut some more pieces out. So I have the 36. Now, the most, I want to say maybe time consuming part is we've got to split these up. And what we need is 24 of your squares to make the outside of the sewn roll. I don't actually have one to show you because I'm making it. But if you imagine you've got your sewn roll, ours is going to be a different size to this, but when we're going to roll it up, tie it with the ribbon. So the outside bit that you're going to see, these are the pieces that you want to sort out. So you want to sort 24 pieces. And then while you're sorting them out, pop them down in front of you. And what you want is 4 high and 6 wide. Okay. And this is where you can make it a different size. You could make it 7 wide, 8 wide if you wanted a really long one. It's totally up to you. But you just want to mix and match them all up. Trying to get some of these ones in that I've put. Oh, they are looking. That's actually brown. It looks green on my screen. I'm going to swap that one with the blue one. There we go. So I'm going totally random. It's up to you on where you want to put yours. You can tell what sort of colours I like because it was quite easy to go in my stash and match them up. So say you want 24, so 4 down and 6 across. That's my extra one that I think I need. I might have to unpick that one if I need it. And then the rest of them we're going to use later for the inside to make our pockets. So if you're wondering where the rest of them are going, I want another blue. Then that means I haven't got a blue for the inside. I might do a little swap, see what I've got left. I told you this bit was the thingy bit, didn't I? Let's have that one in there. Oh, I don't want 3 of them on the inside. We're going to swap that one. There. Let's say then have a swap around. And see what you want to keep for the inside. I haven't got a blue for the inside, but I suppose I could change that one. I've got a blue. There we go. I'm going to leave mine like that. That one looks black now up there, doesn't it? Which is, it's like a chocolate brown colour. So then your other pieces, you can just pop them aside for now, because we're not going to use these till later. At this point though, if you want to make it bigger, you can add another row on if you want to and make it a bigger one, okay, or two, however many you want. And then what we're going to do is basically we're going to join all these together. So, oh, what I haven't done is change the thread on my machine. I think I've got grey on. I might have to stay. So if you haven't done patchwork before, one of the common ways of doing patchwork squares together is everything in pairs. Okay, and if you put everything in pairs, then when you take it to your machine, you can do what's called chain piecing. So you want your 1/4 inch seam allowance on your machine. For this project, actually, it's not too bad if you haven't got your 1/4 inch dead on, as long as you, once you've got the settings, leave them as they are. It's not going to make too much of a difference for this one. So what I'll do is I'll put them all there, so I know these are the ones that I'm going to stitch first, and then I can line them all up. I'll prepare them all. I always like to have a good space next to me, and I know for some people that might not be possible depending on the room that you have, of where you sew, but if you can, have a space next to you. And if you can't, on the table where you're at, if you've got like a little side table or your ironing board that you can have like next to you, to put them on. Okay, so I know that these are all my pieces that I'm going to stitch. So let's test the other camera. Here we go, I'm here. Right, so let me just put my 1/4 inch. And if you lower your stitch length as well to about 2 mil, that'll make it your perfect settings for your patchwork. I've got navy blue on, here we go. So I'm sewing the first one, but I'm not taking it out. I'm going straight to my next piece. And I'm not pinning these because they are quite small. But if you feel you need to pin, and then all I'm doing is just lifting the foot and putting the next one underneath and sewing it. And what that's doing is a couple of things. One, it's saving thread because you're not taking it out each time. And two, it stops, actually 3 things. When you sew little pieces, sometimes when you start off, your feed dogs can eat it, can't it, at the end? If you've ever had that, it's quite annoying. So if that's ever happened, then this is a good way. And the third thing is when you start sewing, and it does it on my machine, on the first few stitches, when you first start sewing, you can get a tiny little bird's nest under the bottom of your first couple of stitches. Most machines that I use, that happens. Now, this eliminates that as well. So if anyone's got any other good reasons of chain stitch, it's a bit quicker as well, because you're not taking it out and cutting it and then starting again. Just carrying on. You can see I'm going in order, and then when I take these off, I'll lay them back down in order. Now, what I should have said earlier was, if it helps, once you've got them laid out, take a photograph, if you can. And then if you do get them out of sync, you can refer back to the photograph. But to be honest, for something like this, you could easily mix and match them once they're in pairs. So we're just going to sew all the way down. I have a bag full of 2.5-inch squares. I got into the habit, it would be a couple of years ago, of any scrap fabric that I had, if I could get a 2.5-inch square out of it, I would cut it and put it in a bag. For some scrappy project in the future, but I've never got round to that scrappy project, and I got out of the habit of doing it. But none of the colours that are in there, none of the colours will go with these colours. It was fabric that when I used to do my TV demoing, it was fabric that I used there, which normally wasn't my sort of style of like the muted colours. Oh, so I'm on to my last one now. Don't worry if you've still got a few to go. And then you've made your own bunting. If you want to make some quick bunting for the Jubilee, if you're in the UK, or we've got some US viewers, you could actually do it this way, just with squares of fabric or triangles of fabric, just stitch them together with a chain piece. And then when you put them up, they're still going to be joined because you're not going to cut them. How quick's that? That's going to save you putting any ribbon on the top, isn't it? All right, so this was my end one. So I'm just going to lay them back down as I cut them. But I can't remember which side was which, but I'll find that out when I lay them out. And have your iron switched on as well, because we're going to iron. So the other thing as well is your iron is your best friend in your sewing room. I rarely iron. I buy clothes that don't need ironing, really. But I have got a basket full of stuff that needs ironing. Yeah. Probably stuff I forgot. I forgot. There we go. Yeah. Oh yes, there's someone. Oh, it says Fire Tablet. I'm sure that's not your name. Hello, Fire Tablet. You're on mute, just so it doesn't interrupt the feed. Bless. There we go. Hello. If you've just joined us, I don't know your name because it's coming up saying Fire Tablet. So I've just popped you on mute for now. Right, so we've got those now, and then I'm going to open them out. And this is the point where we do want to iron as well. Now, I just want to talk to you about the seams, because ideally when you're stitching together, you want to try and nest your seams where possible. So when you're looking at them, see, I finger pressed as I laid it down. I finger pressed that one to the dark, just as a starting point. And this next one, I want to make sure that I finger press it to the other side. So even if this one was light, you would press it to the light side or turn it round if you wanted to. And what that's going to do is help when you're putting these together, that they're going to nest. So this seam's facing that way. So when I open this one, I want the seam facing that way. So it's going to be alternate. So I'm just finger pressing them first. And then this one, I want the seam this way. But I think that one must have gone that way, because I don't think I'll have had them two colours together. But this is why I'm finger pressing first, and I'm going to get my layout again, because I didn't take a photo. and then check. And then again, with this one, have a starting point. And then work your way down, just pressing them every other way. Yeah, I can't even remember which way I happened, but there you go. As long as I haven't got any touching, I'm happy. I think that one went that way. This is what I mean about your choices. So I've decided one time, and then now I'm changing my mind. I'm definitely going to move these because I don't want them two greens touching, if possible. Let's see. Oh, I might swap it with that one. Oh. I'm terrible for swapping and changing my mind. Oh. Right, so I'm just going to look and check that I'm happy. I don't like them two greens touching there. If I turn that way, that green, that's better. That's better. Now I need to look at me seams. All my seams are all to pot. You can press your seams open if you prefer, which some people prefer to. Totally up to you. Right. And we'll say with this one, my seam is actually pressing to the light side, but you're not going to see it through there. So right, left, left. There we go. So I'm now happy with that layout. So now I'm going to give these a bit of a press before I start stitching them again. And because you've finger pressed them, you've already pretty much started them off. You can do it without pressing them, but you will find if you do it without, and then if you did another version with pressing, I'll put money on that you will see a difference. It makes it crisper and it does help things line up as well. It's much better having this wire off my iron under the table. So if anyone's got any questions, if you're not sure on anything, feel free to unmute or pop in the chat. Oh, I can see some comments in the chat. Let me have a look. What's happening in the chat? Oh, it's Whisper. Fire tablets, Whisper. That's all right. That's all right. Hopefully, are you sewing along or are you just watching? Because if you're sewing along, I can give you a quick recap. So once you've got all of these pressed, we'll then go back again and start joining them in pairs again. One little quick tip, if you've pressed one the wrong way and you thought, oh, I should have pressed it the other way, fold it back over and repress it folded. And that'll help take that. If you just try and fold it the other way straight away, you might get a crease. So if you give it a press first and then fold it the other way, you'll find it'll press easier. So press out, then press back in again. See if that helps. There we go. So now I'm going to sew them all into pairs. Then I'll have 6 squares. Like that. And it's the same principle. We can do chain piecing again, but now because we press those seams one side to the other, you can see how they nest really well. And if you've not done nesting before, if you line them up and then you rub it with your finger and your thumb, you'll feel it flat. If you overlap the seam on purpose, you'll feel how thick it is, and then start just gently rubbing between your finger and your thumb, and you'll feel it get flatter, and then you'll feel the nest. And what I'll do is I'll take that to my machine like that. I know that nest is the bit I want to concentrate on. The ends should pretty much match up because they're quite small pieces, and just keep your raw edges lined up, and then you can sew down. But I'm going to keep hold of it like that at the nest when I take it to my machine. And then when I'm putting it down, I'm still keeping my finger on the nest. So I know that it's this side that I need to stitch, and then I can put it under my machine. And you don't need to pin. If you do feel you need to pin, then by all means, pop a pin in. I wouldn't use clips. You don't really want to be using clips when you're doing patchwork like this. And then you're getting a perfect seam in there. And what I'm going to do is actually finger press that up. That one's going up to the dark, and I'm going to place it back down. And then I'm going to come to my middle one. And again, pick them up on all the sides I want to join. Get that nest, hold the nest, pop it down at your machine. Make sure all your raw edges are lined up. And then you can stitch. And if you need to readjust, stop with your needle down. If you've got a needle down position on your machine, mine's here, I don't think you'll see it too well. So it's a needle with a horizontal line, the tip of the needle is below the horizontal line. That's your needle up down position. If you engage that, and then if you do stop and have to readjust, your piece isn't going to move under the machine. So I'm not chain piecing these ones because what I want to do is lay them back down in the correct order. So that one went up, so this one needs to go down. So I'm just finger pressing it there. Again, pick them up, rub them together. When I first learned this years ago, I was amazed of how it nested together and just sat there. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've done plenty of seams where I thought I've done that, and when I've taken it out, it hasn't matched. You can be certain it was going to. You say, well, I didn't move it, I pinned it or whatever. It can still move. It's all part of the fun when you have to get the seam ripper out. So this one, I need to press the seam towards the blue and the red. Give that a little finger press, and that's a lovely match there. Oh. And then just work your way around. And if it is a little bit out at one of the ends, then that's fine. You're better off having your seam, your points matching, and having a tiny bit. You're not going to be much out on small pieces like this. You've got a 1/4 inch to play with when you sew them together to something else. So I'm just finger pressing that. I believe I've left my navy thread on. What was I sewing? Oh, I was sewing something navy. Obviously, I was doing some top stitching. But usually, you'll see here next to me is my neutral colour, what I always have on. So, so my top thread's just snapped. That's typical, isn't it? And my wire is just, oh, there we go. Actually, this is an opportunity for me to put my cream thread on. Let's get my cream back on. Where's my bobbin? Oh, I haven't got much on my bobbin. And I need to top stitch. Oh, where's this cream? I still have plenty left on my bobbin on that one, but we'll change it. Oh. So I was too busy before I started testing my new setup with this extra camera. I'm actually chuffed to bits that because it hasn't gone blank or anything. The other one I used a few months ago, sometimes the screen just went off and went blank, which I wasn't happy with. This is a app called IVCam. It's free, which I like. There's a pro version if you want to, but this is my new phone as well that the picture's on, but obviously it's, I wanted to try and zoom in, but it won't let me zoom in, but I think it's, hopefully it's okay. Hopefully you have to let me know if you're happy seeing that extra shot. There we go. So I've got one left. Yours are probably ahead of me now. What was that way? I'll put it the other way. At this point, you're going to end up with 6 squares, which you're then going to sew together, again in pairs, sew them in 3 pairs, and then you can sew your 6 together. So again, I'm going to take each one up and I've finger pressed it, so I'll give it a proper press and then pop it back down. And then at this point, you've got one last chance if you want to move any of them around, but you might have to repress your seam. But like I showed you, press it out and then press the seam back in again, and it works a treat. So thank you anyway to everyone as well for signing up today. We had a lot of people sign up, so I was thrilled with that. I say I've not done a Zoom for a bit. I've been a little bit busy, been planning my quilting weekends. If anyone's wanting to come to those in July, they're on my website. Do have a look on my website. I've got a bag class in June. Quilting weekend, the first weekend and last weekend of July. And the in-person classes up here. So if you want to travel or if you live local, got quite a lot signed up for that up to now. I think how many have I got? I've got, I think 8 on the first one up to now and 10 on the last one. And get easily up to 16, even 20 in the hall. So there are plenty spaces left at the moment. Right, so I'm having to decide. Yeah, I'm going to leave mine. I'm going to leave mine the way they are. So then again, your seams should all nest together. And I'm doing this as a sewing roll, but the other thing, when we come to sew the divider lines in later, you'll see how actually you can make it for makeup brushes, paint brushes, crochet hooks. You know, gardening tools might be a bit small for gardening tools. But anything really that you want to store in it. And you'll decide yourself later how big you want the little pockets to be. So just keep going in the pairs until you get to a point where you'll have 3 pieces left. And then you'll sew them 3 together. There we go. Oh, that's Jackie, that's lovely. Thank you for letting me know that's clear. And yes, Val can't wait for the Japanese bag. It's downstairs. I'll bring it up and show you. And Alison's looking forward to them. But yes, Alison's booked on board. So Alison and Val and Jackie are all on the bag and one of the quilting weekends as well. So absolutely fantastic. It's going to be great. I can't wait. So I've got my 3 pairs there. So I'm going to press those. And once we sew these together, this is the outside of the roll done. So I'll say this is where you can make it any size really. You just add more blocks. If you wanted to make a longer one, you can. I was going to make a longer one, then I thought, well, it's I'm going to leave that up to you. You can make a longer one today if you want, just add more on. If you're making it just a little bit longer, your fat quarter will still be enough, I think. Yeah, it will be. Oh, Judith had to go. That's all right, Judith. Absolutely fine. I'll say I will send this out. Might be tonight, it might be tomorrow night. I don't get home tomorrow till about 8:30. So we've got Sewn Club tomorrow after work, which I love, that we have in Newton Aycliffe. Again, if anyone's local and you want to come to our Sewn Club, we just all go and do our own thing and we just split the room hire between us. It's usually no more than £5 each. The more they go, the cheaper it is. So Jackie had a look at the weekend. Oh, you're a different Jackie. Sorry, it's the other Jackie. There's another Jackie who's booked on. She's booked on this as well, I think. I was getting you mixed up. Getting there and back on the train didn't seem very easy. Where are you coming from, Jackie? If you're coming on the East Coast Main Line, those train links are really good to Darlington. Oh, in Suffolk. Oh, yeah. See, I'm only quite up to date on the trains going to Peterborough, but you'd have to. That's quite a way, isn't it? Yeah, that's quite a way. So, not to worry. Maybe I'll get to go around the country one day. You never know. Right, so I've put them and I've pressed them, but when I've looked, I've pressed them too, both the same way. Or did that go that way? Oh yeah, I just turned that one the other way. There we go. So then, now with these ones, you've got 3 lots of seams to match. So I start by matching the first one that's going to get sewn. And then when I get to once I've sewn this, just past it, I'll then adjust these under a machine. So I'll show you that, how I do it. And some people have different ways of doing it, but I'll show you my way. At least it's one way. And then if you don't have a way, you can try this way and see if it works for you. So I'm adjusting for the first one, popping that one under, and I'm going to stitch till I get, and once I get to it, I've stopped with my needle down, and then I'm just feeling this one, make sure that one's nested, which it is. I'll get to that one, stop, needle down, and then do your last one, feel that one. Once you get to it, stop, and then just make sure your ends lined up. Stitch all the way off. Okay. And if you're doing a long row with lots of seams, that's the way I do it. So especially when I'm teaching Bargello, that's one of the methods that I teach for Bargello, is once you've done all your strips and you're putting all your little pieces together and you've got lots of seams, that's the best way that I find for me works. And pretty much they should all line up. That one's about a millimetre difference, but I'm not even worried about that. Got loose threads in there. Rid of them. But I'm quite happy with that. And then bring the last one in again, concentrate on that first one. Lined up. I can't use my knee lift when I've got this camera here. I'll be knocking the camera over. I'm stitching to the seam. And then that one's a little bit out, I can feel it. Didn't quite neat. That might be a little bit out, that one. If you do find that you struggle that way, then you can put pins in. Have a look at it. Oh, it's only a smidgen. You can't even tell. I'm happy. I'm happy with that. So that's our outside done. I say you could make it longer now by putting extra strips on. I'm making a little dinky one here. So now with this one, what I'm going to do is set my seams first, because I don't need to finger press this one, because that doesn't matter which way they go. So I press my seam first and then press that one back. I've got threads that have escaped through. And at this point you look and think, have I got them all the right way that I wanted them? But it is quite a scrappy. I haven't been sort of equal with any of the placement. I've just put them quite scrappy. I just made sure I didn't have two colours right next to each other. There we go. Put a little threads in there. These scissors are blunt. Get me the ones. There. Right, so that's our outside piece. And then what you're going to do is get your 24 pieces that you've got left, not 24, 12. And with these ones, I think I might have more than 12. With these ones, yeah, I must have miscounted them before because I've definitely got more than 12 here. You want 2 down. And 6 across. So in effect, we're going to have one like that for the pockets. Match my colours. Yeah, I'm supposed to be good at counting. Oh, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Yeah, I've got 2 extra. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. There we go. I have 2. Put 2 more than I needed. So again, you're going to sew all these together. So you go pairs, you pairs, you pairs, you pairs, and then lock them together. And if you wanted a bigger pocket, you could do it as a row of 3. If you think on here, it's going to go up to here. So if you want quite deep pockets, but I'm going to go halfway with mine. So it's a really, really good one that you can customize to your own taste. And I've just made this up to do today. So by all means, if you've never made one of these before, by all means, feel free to make as many as you want. I don't mind at all. I could say I'd only give you the idea, but if you don't, that's fine. That's fine. Right, so I'm going to put that one there. So I'm going to, again, put these together. Try and remember which colour I've got on the top. I don't even remember this first one now. So you could chain piece these, but because I got myself confused before of where I was putting my colours, I'm not. I'm going to sew them and put them straight back down. So green on the top. Oh, I like my new camera on there. Oh. Hold it out before I press the thread cutter. Again, I'm just finger pressing which way this one's going to the bottom. So, oh, Jackie's, I could get there, okay, but couldn't get back. Ah. Was that because with it being a Sunday? 3 different times on a Sunday. Oh. Well, if I ever have one further down the country, Jackie, you'll be more than welcome. Right. Everyone's very quiet, so that's good. That means nobody's got questions, but if you have got any, feel free to ask away. I've popped out there. Don't you just hate that? I know some people say about sewing machines, you know, and with any machine you can have problems. I mean, this machine's not a cheap machine. It's not the most expensive, but it still has its moments. Well, I'll tell you what I haven't done yet is sorted out any matching ribbon. I've seen one in my jar that I can use. So, those are a little press.
Oh, for crying out loud.
Oh, what? What's happened? Oh, that made me laugh. Who was that?
That was Alice.
Are you all right, Alice?
I'm fine. That was a mistake. I didn't realize I wasn't muted.
That's all right. It made us chuckle. I said worse, don't worry. Not on camera, luckily. But yeah, it's annoying when something goes wrong, especially when you think that it's fine and you were sure it was right. I've unpicked seams before and then realised that I didn't need to unpick it because it was right. I've
Been there, done that.
Yeah, it's so frustrating, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm just giving these all a press before I sew them in the pairs again. And you'll notice I didn't give you the measurements for the fat quarter fabric of what we're going to do with that, because what I wanted to do, obviously, if people did have slightly different seams, it's quite a good one where you can just sort of what's the word? Not freewheel it, but you know what I mean, where you just go with the flow. Now we're using the mini charms here, well, 2.5 inch squares, if you've not used the mini charm, but this is quite a good one to do with charm packs. So if you look at your piece, each 4 of these mini charms are pretty much the same size as one piece of a charm pack, a bit smaller. So you could actually use just 6 charm packs. Well, 6 pieces from a charm pack for the outside. Or you can just use plain fabric, just one piece of fabric. But I think it's a nice little project to use up your little pieces, especially if you are using from your scrapbox. It'd be nice as a gift as well if you're making, so if you're making a gift for someone and you gifted them some pens or pencils or colouring pencils or something like that, you could make them this roll to put them in as well. Yeah, that would be quite nice. There we go. So I've got my last 3 squares there. So I'm going to press these. And then if anyone does like this charm, mini charm pack that I'm using, you can actually buy them on my website. I only have one design, which is Maple Hill, which is, I've got one here. Got one here, Maple Hill. It's like the cutest thing ever. You're getting 42 pieces in there. Ooh, can't remember how much they are on my website. Are they £5.95? But if anyone's seen yesterday, I've started celebrating our Queen's Platinum Jubilee early, and currently you can get 10% off everything on the website up until Friday. You can't use it in conjunction with another code. So if you were ordering this, you have to put the free Zoom code in. You wouldn't be able to put any other code in. But yeah, so the code is Queen10. Queen10 and you get 10% off everything. Then your postage is on top. If you order and you have any problems with the postage, it looks weird, drop me a message before you check out and I'll have a look, because my shipping, I'm having problems with my shipping rates and my shipping profiles. I've emailed Shopify and they've not come back to me yet. They said they'd look at it and they haven't come back to me yet. But yeah, I was getting a little bit annoyed at the shipping profiles, because it was just trying to, at one point it was trying to charge people for classes and tutorials, even though they're set up as no shipping, so there should be no charge. So if you do have any problems, give me a shout and I can sort that for you, no problem at all. There we go. So I'm going to sort these. Oh, Val's saying, oh, 3 layer cake sheets. Oh, yes, 3 layer cakes. That would be a good one. And yeah, for crochet hooks, definitely. I've actually got one that I made years ago, just from some old cotton curtains. I made a little drawstring bag to put my wool in, because it was when I was really into crocheting and knitting. I did loads of it. And I made one of these for my crochet hooks. And in fact, my crochet hooks are still in it. It's not the prettiest thing, you know, when you're just practicing. It was a long time ago. And I've just got a new machine, which was a little cheapy, horrible machine. I didn't have it long. And it was, I was playing with all the decorative stitches. Oh, sorry, I knocked you off there. That was me, not my new software. I was playing with all the decorative stitches on it. Yeah, my hooks are still in it. Right, so how's everyone else getting on?
Turned off.
Okay.
Are we getting, let's have a take chat off. I'm going to go to gallery view so I can see how everyone's doing. But everyone's finished sewing and they're just waiting for me because I've been gabbling on and chewing on rethreading my machine.
Snag, it's got you locked up.
Are you all right, Alice? You've gone red, like your screen's gone red. Right, is everyone still sewing, or is anyone still sewing, wants me to wait, or do you want me to carry on? Anne's still sewing. Jill, are you still sewing? Are you done?
If that was me, I'm sewing something else.
All right, that's all right then. So Helen, are you all right? Are you still sewing? Helen's done. Oh, look, Helen's colours are similar to mine.
I'm not sewing as long.
You watching, Jenny? That's fine.
Yes, I wanted to watch on my laptop, but can only get me.
Oh,
And I've given up now.
have you given up? Oh, bless you.
I'm just watching on my phone.
So I'm still sewing. So we'll just wait. How many have you got left, Dan? Oh, look at that, lovely. Oh, that's the Be Happy fabric, isn't it? I recognise it. Excellent. Right, so I'll go on to the next bit. Are we all right to go on the next bit, Anne? Give me the thumbs up. Yeah. Right, so
What
you've got
do I have to do for the next bit? Is it just
So
6
the
rows
next
of
bit-
2?
6 rows of 2, yeah. But you can,
Okay.
we're going to, I'm going to talk about cutting out the other pieces now. So if you
That's
want,
fine.
shall we do that? And then you can
Yep, that's fine. I'll catch up.
a little break to catch up on that. So
Okay.
we've got our patchwork pieces put together. Essentially, what's going to happen is once we get our other fabric, we're going to use our fat quarter. This is going to be the inside. Obviously, you'll have more fabric on there. This is going to be your pocket for all your pieces to go in. So what we need to do is cut out our pieces for the wadding to go on the back of here. And then the fat quarter of fabric that I said you'll need. We want a piece the same size as this. And we also want a piece the same size as your pocket, if you like. We'll call this the pocket piece for ease. So if you get your, we'll do the fabric first. And what you can do is, so technically, if the 1/4 inch seams were all on here, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, that would be 12.5 by 8.5. So the fabric you would need is 12.5 by 8.5. Okay. But if you struggle to measure, then for something like this is an easy way to do it. Okay. If you get your fabric, put it right side facing up, make sure it's ironed. And don't iron on your mat. So just ignore everything that I'm doing. Just ignore me there. And then get your fabric that you want the same size and put it right side facing to your other fabric. And if you've got a straight edge, it actually helps. Mine's a little bit out. So you can see mine here is just a little bit off. So ideally you would put it on a straight edge, line it up, and then just use your ruler and your rotary cutter to cut around it. Okay, so you're not having to measure. I'm just going to stand up to do the top bit. And you know then that it's going to be exactly the same size. Okay. On a project like this, this is absolutely fine to do it that way. Okay. If I was doing it for a quilt, I would never do it that way. I would always measure my fabric. But then at least you know that your piece is going to match. So I'm just going to cut up this side. And this helps for when I was saying about if your seam allowances were slightly different, your piece might be a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller. So by doing this, it doesn't matter because whatever you sewn it at, you're going to be cutting the same size. And then you want to do exactly the same for your pocket piece. because we want to have a backing for the pocket piece as well. So follow the same process. Get your fabric. Oh, do you think we'll go down to that bit? Look at that. Go down to this bit here. So get your fabric, pop it on, and then cut around it. And then we've done no measuring, which is really good, because sometimes I know the measuring and the cutting out can scare people or put people off from an actual project because they're not confident in the cutting out. Whereas doing it this way, you're not actually measuring anything. So we've now got our two pieces. But what I would say is just remember to make sure that when you're doing it this way, that you put them right sides together. Okay. And then you need to cut your wadding. So my wadding again. Oh, I'm dropping things. You could use your scraps of wadding for this. You know, when you have your scraps and you stitch them together, that's quite a good one to use up to these. Now, with your wadding, you don't need to be exact at all. I wouldn't worry, because it'll get trimmed down. Okay, so I wouldn't worry about that not being exact. And at this point, if you did want to do any quilting, this is the time to do it. Okay, so if you want to do any quilting, I'm going to actually just do a row down the long ends here just to hold it in place. Okay, but if you want to do a lot of quilting, this is quite a good one to have a little bit of a practice on. So I'm not even going to bother putting my walking foot on, but I am going to lengthen my stitch. So I'm going to put my stitch on 4 mil. If you want to put your walking foot on, you can. And I'm just going to stitch down. I'm going to pretty much go for stitch in the ditch, but I might go off a little bit because that's actually quite hard to do. It takes a bit of practice to do a stitch in the ditch. But I'm just going to go down those 3 rows. And it's just going to hold them together. So you could put, you could use a bit of 505 or stick and spray, the temporary adhesive to hold it together. But because it's such a small piece, you should be okay. And the longer stitch helps it go through the machine. So yeah, and plus I'm using a light coloured thread, but it's just going to hold it together. You could go horizontally and then do vertical ones as well and go around all of them. If you want to have that quilted effect, you could go diagonally and do a cross hatch. I'm not a fan of decorative stitches for quilting. Unless it's a really wide stitch, because what can happen is if a decorative stitch is too dense or it keeps going backwards and forwards, it can cause a lot of pull on the fabric. And also, if you don't like it and you're not happy with it, which one lady at one of my classes, I'm not going to say her name, but I know she has booked on this one, so she'll know when you watch this back, you know which one I'm referring to. One of my classes, a lady did this, I think it was the star design on a machine, and she did it all over a quilt, and she didn't like it. It was too small, it was too tight, and I think she was on weeks unpicking it. So if you are considering doing a decorative stitch, definitely have a practice on some scrap of what you're working on, just to see what it looks like, because I'd hate you to do it all and then have to unpick it all. But now the memories have now come flooding back for that lady. I'm really sorry. You dropped me a message to say you watched this and you knew that it was you I was on about. But yeah, it was very disheartening for her, bless her. I think I actually unpicked some as well for I offered to. But that's enough just to hold that together like that. Okay. So the next thing you need to do is put your backing on your pocket. So all we're going to do here is we cut this out using right sides together. So you're just going to have them still on top of each other like that, and decide which way you want your pocket. Because you want to stitch, you're going to stitch just along the top, so that when it folds back and folds behind, this is going to be the top of your pocket. Okay, so just decide which way you want it. And with this one, try and keep it as straight as you can. Pop some pins in. I would, but my pins are over there. So I'm just going to go for it. And I'm going to change my stitch back down to 2 mil. Obviously, I've turned it up there for my quilting. So we're going to go back to 1/4 inch. Seam, and then stitch all the way down, right sides together. And because you've pressed all those seams, they'll all be nice and flat. Oh. So then we're back to our iron. Got lots of ironing. And then I've only got a small mat here, but my piece is too long that way. So you can always turn your mat on the side like that. So I'm going to press or set the seam. Yeah. And then I'm pressing it to the front. So press the seam to the patchwork side. Try and get it so you've got no creases in there at all. And then once you've pressed that, you then going to flip it over. Now what you could do is make that pocket, turn it round. You could make that pocket piece deeper this way when you cut it. And you can have some of it folded over at the top like a 4 binding effect on the top. But if we look at you need to cut at least 1/2 inch longer or wider if you're going to do that. I'm not, I'm just going to have a straight one there. And if you do it from the patchwork side, what you can do there is make sure that you can't see any of your, we'll call it the lining fabric. You can't see any of your lining fabric. Or if you can a little bit, it's not the end of the world. But if you pressed it from the other side, it's harder to see. And you're going to give that a really good press. Like that. And then to finish it off, we're going to top stitch quite close to the edge all the way along just to hold that in place. Now you can use, if you want to use a different coloured thread, you can. Just remember to lengthen your stitch again, at least a 3 mil for top stitch. I tend to do about 3.5, I don't know why. 3.5 usually is my go-to. But you want to, again, sew quite close to the edge. If you don't feel confident sewing right near the edge, then a 1/4 inch is fine. It's just to hold those two pieces together and keep that fold nice and crisp. When you get to the seams, it's a little bit thicker, and if it's really thick, it can maybe stick under your needle sometimes. So if that happens, if you just stop sewing and then just hand crank, just turn it by hand to get over those lumpy bits, but it shouldn't really be too bad. There we go, so it's a lovely top stitch all the way along. Okay. Right, so we've got our pockets sorted. So if anyone is sewing along and you want me to repeat any of that, just give me a shout. And then you think, oh, well, I'm putting that on there, but it's not. We're putting it onto the background fabric, remember. When I find my background fabric, because I've lost it, I've cut it out. What have I done with it? Oh, I've been wheeling on it on with my chair. Oh, so I'm going to give that a iron. I seen a post on Facebook today where someone had, I think a husband had to help her get all of the thread ends out of the wheels on a chair in a sewing room. Said it was worse than trying to clear the roller in the Hoover. I'd imagine mine's pretty bad. There we go. That's better. All right, so you're going to get your plain fabric that you cut from your fat quarter. Yeah. And you're going to pop this on there like that. Now, this is where we need to decide how wide we want our pockets. Okay. And if you've done a deeper one and you've got an extra block, then obviously yours is going to come up to here. We need to decide what we're going to put in. So if I say I was wanting to put my rotary cutter in, I prefer to put rotary cutters blade in than blade out, because there's always a chance, isn't there, that could get knocked and that you're exposing a blade. So if you're putting your rotary cutter in, you're going to think, well, actually, I need that to be quite wide. So actually, I'm going to have one here. So I'm going to have a sort of a 4 block as one pocket. And then these ones I'm going to do all as single. So I'm going to put pens in there. My little scissors are going to go in there. My unpicker's probably going to go in. Me hemostats, what I love, they're going to go in. They can go in. This is funny. My mum wanted a new pastry brush and there was a set of 3. And I was like, oh, and she wanted one of these. So I was like, oh, they'll be good. So that's my new tool in my sewing room for cleaning stuff out, is a pastry brush. How cool is that? I think it was like 3 for £1.79 or something. So my mum got 1 and now I've got 2 for my sewing room. I love like little things like that, that it's especially kitchen stuff. There's a lot of kitchen stuff that you can use. So what we're going to do is go down and sew these down and sew pockets. You could put wadding behind here and make it extra poofy if you want. But I like my poofiness to be on the outside, but you could put 2 layers of wadding in. So again, like I say, all you're going to do is sew down. Now, when you're sewing down from here, you want to make sure that you make sure this stitch here is well secured. Because if you're in and out, there's going to be a lot of strain on there. So you don't want to just stop and not finish those edges off. But you don't want to be doing too many forward, reverse, forward, reverse, forward, reverse, because it can look quite ugly, can't it, if you've got quite a few. So what I would say is pin this on so you know that it's pinned and it's not going to move. Okay. Start from the raw edges. sew up to your stitch line of where you did your top stitching, leave the needle down, turn your work, so pivot it under the machine, and then stitch back. And then that's giving you the secure. You could do an extra back stitch at the top, which I'll do and I'll show you, but then you're going to have no ends to finish off. They're all going to be taken up in your seam here. Okay, so I'll do that and show you what I mean, if that didn't make sense. So we'll pretend I've pinned.
Bernie,
Yeah,
would you think about using like H250 or something to give it a bit more structure?
you could do, yes. I was going to use fusible fleece on mine, but I thought people have probably got wadding more than fusible fleece, or any interface that you could use to stretch it. You could use, I suppose you could use foam interfacing as well, then it would make it really structured. So anything really, yeah, definitely.
I was just thinking on the pocket, you wouldn't get thickness with H250, but you would get a bit of body.
Yes, you would. You would. So you definitely could use it. I mean, depends how if you want it to be like a quilted effect, you get a better quilted effect with wadding. But I say you could use an interfacing on there, definitely. You could use quite a heavy one as well. Yeah, you could use a heavy one. So anything you've got really. I like to use fusible fleece for a lot of stuff, but not everyone has it, and it is quite expensive. So I don't tend to sort of promote that because I know it's expensive if people have to go and buy some. So yeah, so anything really that you want. I mean, you could make it with faux leather oilcloth. You could do them as well, so you could make it into like a wash roll for your hairbrush, your toothpaste, your toothbrush as well. So you can make a waterproof one. That would be good. Right, so I'm going to start. So I'm going to start from the raw edge. I'm going to put my needle in the middle because sometimes that helps me when I'm looking of where I want to go, to be exact, because I really want to stop at a certain place. I'm just debating what stitch length. I'm gonna leave it at the same as my top stitch because you are going to see it unless you use a colour that blends in. So I'm starting at the raw edge, therefore I don't need to secure it and do a reverse because that's going to be secured later in my seam. So I'm going to stitch all the way up. I'm just going to go slow. And there we are. I'm at now my top stitching line that's running along here. Okay, so needle down, push up and turn it around. And then I'm going to do a couple of stitches. And then I'm going to do a couple of reverse stitches. And then I'm going to stitch back down on my same line. Now, if you're not too confident of it being exactly on there, if you use a thread that blends in, it's pretty good, let me see. Pretty good. And then that's really strengthened that point there. So let's have, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to have that one as a single one. Oh. So all the way up to the stitch line, pivot round, do a couple of stitches, then a couple of stitches back, and then stitch a little bit wonky, that one, but I don't mind. There we go, I've done that one. And then I think I'm going to do that one as a big one, and I'm going to do this one as a small one. So up to the top stitch, couple of stitches down, couple of stitches reverse, and then stitch down. And in my head, I keep saying to myself, Bernie, don't forget about the ribbon. Bernie, don't forget about the ribbon. So I haven't forgot about the ribbon. I've been saying it to myself for the last sort of 15 minutes when I was doing that bit. So I didn't forget. So we've now got the pockets that I've decided that I want in mine. Now, your outside pieces are loose. You could, if you wanted to, with a long stitch on your machine, just baste those quite close to the edge just to hold them down. But I'm quite happy that they're not going to move because it's not a big piece. And we're actually not far off being finished. We do need to do the ribbon. I'm going to construct the fabric together first and then grab my ribbon. So I'm not sure which colour I'm going to use. So you're going to take your outer piece that you've quilted, okay? If you decided to put your wadding behind here and you're not quilting this section, then you just have this piece loose, okay? But I wanted that back quilted effect. And then what we're going to do is put right sides together. And remembering, because we cut this piece using our patchwork piece as a template with right sides together, that'll fit on there perfectly. And at this point now, we need to grab our ribbon. So I'm just going to get my jar down. Just bear with me a second. Ooh, which ribbon, which ribbon? I might use that one. So I've got some here that has tape measure on it when I find it. Oh, no, it's not in there. Look, that's too small. That's not long enough. I can't use that one. Let's use that one with houses on. I've got like probably thousands of meters of ribbon. I had a bit of a thing about ribbon a few years ago, and I bought like shed loads of it on eBay from China. And if we think how much we're going to do, so when we roll this up, obviously it's not a really big one, but I'm going to put my ribbon behind, and I think, well, I think if I'm going to tie it with a nice bow, that'll be enough. I'll measure this, tell you how much I've put off. That's probably far too long than what you need. But if I measure that, what have I got? 19, 20. So that's actually 27 inches long. But to be honest, I think you'd probably get away with maybe 20 inches, half a metre. So do that test. Just do it, roughly roll it round and then check that you've got plenty. I want to tighten a bow, so I don't want it too short. So then I'm going to open it back out. I'm just going to fold back one of the sides. And then with your ribbon, you want to fold it in half. So my raw edges are here. This is my fold here. Okay. And then what you want to do is position it exactly halfway down. And I'm judging it on this join here. This seam here is halfway down. So I'm just joining it. And this is the fold. Because what happens is once it's stitched and turned through, these are going to be on the outside, and we want two pieces to wrap around. You could do one piece longer than the other, the way it wraps around, but I'm just going to do it halfway. It's longer, it's longer. So once you know where that's going to be, take all that off. Fold it in like that, because we want to keep it well away from when we stitch. and then lie this bit back on, and then definitely pop a pin in. I can see one pin without me getting up and getting the other ones. So let me just lie that back on top like that. I'm just going to check that hasn't moved. There we go. So I spotted a pin, and I'm just going to pin that ribbon because I don't want that to move. Okay, and then you're going to pin the rest. Oh, hang on. I've got my posh pins. I forget about using my magic pins. I've got silicone end, rubber silicone ends on, and they're dead long. I love them. They're like £10 or something a pack for 50 pins. And I've only got 49 because I give one away to someone. Long story of why I give one pin away. I'm just going to pin these. Now, we need to leave a gap for turning, and you really want to leave your gap along your top edge, okay? Because if you left it along the bottom edge, you've got all them layers to think about, because that's where your pocket is. So you really want to leave it along the top edge. So as a reminder, you could either mark it with a heat erasable pen, or you could pop pins in to remind yourself that you're going to stop sewing, okay? But the one thing I would say is when you're leaving a gap, if I fold this back, where my gap is, I've done it just past the seam. So I've got a seam here. I'm going to stop and secure the stitch and pass that seam, and the same with this one. So really in my gap, I've only got one seam. And the reason why that is because when you turn it through, because you have to secure your stitches here, there's quite a lot of force, isn't there, as you're pulling it through. That means there's going to be force on this seam, and that seam could come away. If you've got 3 seams and you've got 3 seams coming away, then you're going to have to fix them. So if you always do it where you're leaving the least number of seams in the gap, hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so because we're going through quite a few layers, I'm going to put my stitch length up to about 2.5. But if my machine feels like it's struggling, then I'll lengthen it to 3. I'm just changing. I'm just putting my back, 1/4 inch back on. Doesn't want to go. There we go, 1/4 inch. So you're going to sew. You're going to start at one end of your gap, do your secure stitching, go all the way around. And what I tend to do is sew off the edge, and then I start back again from the other end. So in effect, at your corner, you have a crisscross of stitches like that. You haven't got a pivot, because your pivot means at that point there, you've only got that one thread that's holding that corner. If you've got that, you've got more thread securing that corner. Okay. And then you're going to sew all the way back round and stop here at your other gap and secure that stitch as well. Okay. And because we've pinned the ribbon here, where we go over the ribbon, just do a few reverse stitches just to secure that down. Okay. Oh, we're nearly done. What time is it? Oh, 20 to 5. Brilliant. Perfect. I thought a couple of hours and we'll go through it. Right. So I've got my 1/4 inch seam back on. So we are going to trim this wadding down before we turn it through and the corners. So that's why it didn't matter too much about having the wadding exact. So I'm doing a few stitches, then a reverse, and then back over. And I just sew all the way off. Pull it out and round. I don't even cut my thread. I line it back up with the edge of my fabric. I'm actually starting sewing on my wadding there. And then down. And then when I get to here, I'm not going to sew over my pin. But yeah, I'm going to sew, that's my ribbon. I'm going to reverse and back down. So again, that's a stress point. So wherever you have a stress point, try and do some secure stitching. It's like if you're putting a zip in, like a zip on a cushion, I'll always do reverse over it a few times to secure it in. Wherever you're going to have any stress points. So going along the bottom's quite thick, there's quite a lot of layers, but my machine's doing okay. If it wasn't, I would up the length. And remembering when I get to my mark that I'm going to stop. And go back a few stitches. My gap's only about 3 inches, but we'll get it through. There we go. So let me get my things all out. So we've stitched all the way around and we've left our turning gap. And before I trim it, what I like to do is just check that I've got all the seams caught in, because there's nothing worse than turning it through and realizing that you haven't caught all of your seams in, because your fabric can move, as you know. So I just go around and just double check that I have caught all my seams in. And if you get to a bit where it looks a little bit close, which mine looks okay, but if you get to a bit that looks a little bit close, say on this side, just go down and stitch it a little bit further in. Again, the sizing on this isn't going to cause any problems if you have one side a little bit different to the other. But I always like to just double check, because you see my fabric went off a bit here, but I compensated for that and moved my stitching in to make sure that I caught it all in. I'm just going round, making sure that I've caught it all in. Yeah, so I'm happy with that. So now you can trim. So you can trim with scissors if you want to. I tend to, probably just from habit, trim with my ruler and my rotary cutter. And what I tend to do, if I'm just trimming it down like this, I'll just put my stitch line roughly on my 1/4 inch mark on my ruler, and then just trim down. Oh, I had to press on there. I forgot there was a load of layers. And then I'm just going to turn it round. And I'm cutting sitting down, which is sometimes harder if you've got a lot of layers. And then this side is the one that I've got the gap. I just want to talk about that gap as well shortly. So we've gone all the way around, and then what we want to do is snip the corners. Now, if you're confident to go in and do it with a rotary cutter, you're basically cutting off a triangle like that. If you feel that you might go a little bit onto your stitcher and then you're going to have to restitch, use your scissors and just cut off that little triangle. And that's just going to help your corners sit better. Okay, and keep this for stuffing if you want to. Yeah, I've got a bag full of little bits for stuffing, so I'll put that one in the bin. And then with your gap, I'm just going to turn it over. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim back this wadding here, so that when we turn it through, and we have this fabric here that we're going to, that's going to fold in, it's easier if you haven't got this wadding as bulk. So you want to be careful, you're not going to cut your fabric. So I'm just going to, I'll do it with the wadding up at the top, and I'm just going to snip in on each side. You can see where I've just snipped in from each side there, and then I'm just going to cut along. And I'm just roughly cutting it. You can see there how I've just took that chunk out for where the gap is for turning through. Okay. And then the other thing that I like to do, and sometimes I forget, but I have remembered today to tell you about this little tip. So before you turn it through, turn it so you fabric side up, and bring your seam, or just open your seam there. You see where I'm just finger pressing it there. If you get your iron, press that side. This is the gap. We'll ignore the gap for now. Go to the other side where it's stitched, give it a finger press. You don't have to do it all the way to the end. Give it a press. Yeah. And then what you'll find is your centerpiece where your gap is, you'll be able to then finger press that down, and you see. And what this does is when you turn it through, it helps you fold, like when you've turned stuff through before, you then have to fiddle on, don't you, and push the fabric and fold it, and you're trying to crease it with your fingers to get it neat and straight. Well, doing it this way, you're pre-pressing it. So you're going to have that fold already, so it'll tuck in. We're going to do the same on the other side, but on the other side, you need to be careful because you've got the wadding. So on the other side, if you've got a pressing cloth, oh, where's mine? Oh, it's out of reach. I can see it. If you haven't got a pressing cloth, you could put a little bit of fabric over the top. You can see there how, if I can just get the tip. So I haven't put my iron on my wadding. I've just put it on my fabric. That green is my gap. And then the cream there is pretty much half my gap and half's what was stitched. But ideally you would put a pressing cloth over here. You don't really want to press your iron onto your wadding. But can you see there how that's, I'll hold it up, you'll see it better. You can see how that's now folded. Oh yeah. So when you turn it through, that'll go in easier. And once you've done that, hopefully you'll go, oh yeah, now I know, I see what's happening now. So now we're ready to turn it through this gap. Oh. I was just checking there. Was someone not on mute? But here. Oh no, it's gone. Everyone's on mute. Oh, I don't know what happened there. So yeah, so now you've got quite a little gap. You could leave a bigger gap if you wanted to, but all you want to do is start from the corner nearest your gap. Don't go in for this bottom one and try and pull it all through. So you just want to do a little at a time. So get your first corner through like that, and then work your way around. You can see how I'm looking at the next corner and aim to get the next corner through. There we go. And then go to the other corner, and then the corner furthest away. You can see how that actually goes through quite nicely. It doesn't take too much to get it through. If you struggle, if you might need to ask for someone else to help you with it if you have problems turning it through. But because we kept that out the way, that's not caught on anything. You can't really pin it. You could put a clip on, I suppose. You could put a quilting clip on to hold it together. But I'm just using the end of my finger first, just to push all those corners out. Oh, it looks quite cute, doesn't it? Really cute. And then I'm going to get me, whatever I'm going to use to put my corners out. Oh, I've been using this like scoring tool that I found was helping, because I don't know where my bamboo creaser is. Actually, yeah, I know where it's at. But this has been quite good. But you're just going to poke all those corners out nicely. Try not to use your scissors in case the tip goes through. Been there, done that, had to restitch. Not the end of the world, but it's annoying when you do it and you know you shouldn't have done it, and then it happens. There we go. So we've got that all turned through. Got our pockets all done. Hopefully your seams will have matched up better than mine. They started all right here, but then those two have gone off a little bit, but well, that looks really cute, doesn't it? And then what you need to do is give this a good press. Now, I just want to show you that top bit though. You see where we finger press those seams in, they've now pre-folded through. How fab is that? Makes it so much easier for when we're pressing and stitching it down. So you're going to give it a good press. And again, just take your time on the seams. Just to get them. It's like you have to roll the seams, don't you? I don't know if that's the correct term for it, but. And if you're using a good fabric as well, you can feel the quality when you're pressing. Just press better and crisper. You'll get out of there. Quite bulky along there. I say this is quite a nice dinky size, good for ones if you go into classes and things like that, to put your essentials in. Or if you wanted to make a bigger one, then by all means go for it. There we go. So I've pressed all the way around apart from my gap. But I say they already pretty much folded in when I did my pressing before. So I'm going to press them down. But what I am going to do is put a pin in. Keep it lined up. There we go. So you've got a couple of options now for your gap. So you can either hand sew it if you want to use a ladder stitch, which I only use when I have to, because I don't like hand sewing. Apart from binding, binding has to be hand sewn. Unless I'm working on, I'm just trying to get this thread that's annoyingly sticking out back inside. Binding on a quilt really, if I'm making it for someone, has to be hand stitched. It takes hours, but it has to be hand stitched. It looks better, in my opinion. I prefer hand stitched one. Or you can sew around the outside. I wouldn't sew along this pocket though, personally. I'm going to sew up here, along there and down to there. Or am I? Do you know, I think it might look better hand sewn. But if you want a top stitch, you can. Yeah, I think I'm going to hand sew it. I'm going to do that afterwards. I'll do that tonight when I'm watching the Grand Prix. If anyone's watched the Grand Prix, if it's already finished, please don't tell me the result, pretty please. But you've got your tie here. So obviously you're going to put your items in. I'll put my smaller rotary cutter would have been better in there. That's my big one. I'll put my pencils in, my pens. What else? I've got my, oh, they can go in there with that. Will my brush go in? Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's sticking out the top, does it? I've got my brushes in there. And then what you're going to do is to roll it up however it rolls with whatever you're putting in. And then this is where you're gonna, this is where you find the ribbons like really, really too long. You're gonna tie up your ribbon. Oh, it's my pin. I was thinking that was my rotary cutter. And there we go. We've finished our little sewn roll. How fab is that? It's really cute, but yeah, I am going to hand sew that closed because I think it will actually be better on mine. So there we go. So how are we all getting on? Let's have a look. Let's get to gallery view. I want to see if anyone, whoever's been sewing along, you'll have to give me a little. Oh, there's Anne's. Oh, yeah. Oh, is that a red fabric, Anne? That looks striking, doesn't it? It really makes the other fabric pop. Fabulous. Who else is going to see? Helen, I'm waiting to see Helen's because Helen's fabric's like my fabric. Oh, yes. Beautiful. Fabulous. Oh, look at that one, Joanne. That's multicolored. I like it.
My laptop crashed, so I've only got the outside bits done.
Oh, that's okay.
So I'll follow the rest later.
Yeah, I was going to say you'll get the recording back, so you'll be able to pick up on it. But yeah, I think it's really cute, isn't it? Like I say, you can do one, or you could do a smaller one. Val was saying about putting her crochet hoops in. I've only got one crochet hook up here, and it's a big fat one. But what you could do if you're putting crochet hooks in, when you do your rows, you could have 2 or 3 in each of, in these ones, like between the charm packs, because some of your crochet hooks are really thin if you've got like the different sizes. So, and you could also have a section for your little scissors as well. So you've got like a little crochet kit as well. So yeah, so that's really handy. So yeah, oh, I'm thrilled. Well, there we go. Well, I hope everyone enjoyed it. Judith, can you send me the fabric requirements, please? It wasn't attached to my email. No, it wasn't attached to anyone's email. It was in the product description on the website. So you'll need to go back on the website. And if you go into the description of it, the free Zoom, it's in there, all the requirements. I thought that was easier than having to then I could just send the link out, which was quicker for me. So there we go. So yes, I hope you've all enjoyed it. I've had a lovely afternoon. I'm just going to, if you don't mind, I'll find my iPad. I'm just going to take a photo of everyone on the screen. If you don't want your picture to be on the internet, do you want to take your screen down or just move your screen out the way? If that's, if I can find my picture. The camera. There we go.
I'm crocheting.
Are you crocheting? Oh, fabulous. Fabulous.
Do you want to see the rest of it?
Oh yeah, hang on. Let me. I'm picking up a QR code that's down here. I'm trying to get me zoom in on my photo and I can't there. Right, hang on. Oh, somebody's just someone's actually booked on the class while we've been there we go. Someone's booked on while we've been on, but let's have a look. Oh my goodness me, look at that. It's a crown. Oh goodness, I love it.
Still work in progress.
Is it going onto a post box?
No,
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 because
there's-
everyone that's been put out round here, they've all been stolen.
have they been stolen? Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
But I'm going to my sister's at the weekend. She's having a Jubilee party.
Oh,
I'm
excellent.
I'm going to wear it there.
Yeah, excellent. Oh, fab. Brilliant. Right, so just before I go, I just wanted to show you a couple of new products that have gone on my website. Lindsay's, she's not watching live, I don't think. Is she on? I don't think she's on. Lindsay's ordered 2 of these this morning. Kansas Trouble Quilters homemade homespun. These are brushed cotton. Oh my God. They all, like, there's plaids in there and stripes and checks. Absolutely luscious. But you can see all the colours on my website if you go on. And the other one I've just been getting in new is some French General. So if we've got any French General fans, these are, it's like a duck egg blue and a grey and the red. Absolutely stunning. Oh, bit of paisley. I like a bit of paisley. So I've got that one that's new on my website as well. If you haven't been on my website before, there's some other ones on there already. Oh, them 2 are Lindsay's. I need to put in a bag to post. I've got, suitable for the Jubilee, we've got Regency, Somerset Blues, which is blues and like mustard yellows. That's a cute one. I like that one. And we've got the Hope Blooms, which is very similar to the Maple Hill, the little mini charm. They're proper right up my street, them colours. And there's a Christmas Warm Winter Wishes, which are nice muted colours. We've got that one as well. Well, you can see all the colours if you go on the product, you can see. And then I've got Maria Sky, which is blues and reds. And I've basically picked all the ones I like. So if nobody buys them, I can keep them for myself. The other thing that's on there is scrap bags. So considering there's 10% off everything until Friday night, fill your boots. Because yeah, there's plenty on there. I've restocked on some things. If not, anyone's not seen a scrap bag before, yours won't come open, will come closed. This was one that I spotted that I kept for me. But you can see that they're wider than 2.5-inch strips, and you're getting £half a pound in weight.
Oh,
and
wow.
She'll be from the same range. They do say that they try and keep them in the same range. And the majority will have the selvage edges on, but a lot of projects use selvage edges. I need to use the selvage, but I am going to do something with these. And I don't know whether it's going to be as a physical class or a Zoom class, or I could possibly do both. And I'm thinking log cabin. Just thinking log cabin. I think these would be great. But you can see that you've got, like, I've got loads out the range in there of just one, and there's like, that's heavy. It says £half a pound, but some of them are actually more. But you're getting loads in there. They're £15 each. But they're not, because you get £1.50 off, so they're £13.50. Obviously, your postage on top. So yeah, so if anyone wants to do a little bit of shopping, then feel free. I am going to put some more offers up later in the week. But that's just a teaser, because I'm not going to tell you what they are. But there will be some more offers. I've got some more offers planned for through the week. So there you go. There's my little plug for my website. Thank you all for joining me. It's been a fabulous afternoon. I'm going to have some, oh no, I'm not, I am going to start my video. There we go, get me back. There we go, I'm back. I'm going to have some tea, and then I'm going to watch the Formula One, have myself a shower and an early night, and back at work tomorrow. So I hope you all enjoy the rest of your Sunday. If you've got any questions about this, drop me an email, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can if you do get stuck. I'll upload the video as soon as possible, so it'll either be tonight or tomorrow night by the time it uploads. It might work quite quick because my Wi-Fi is doing well today. And then I shall see you all again soon. So bye-bye for now. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
Bernie.
Bye, everybody.
Everyone. Bye.
Bye, thank you.
You're all welcome.
Thank